just how much we're actually gaining. Professor Daniel Bradlow, International Development Law and African Economic Relations at Tukkies up at Pretoria. Prof, good morning to you. I appreciate your time. If you look back at the track record, if BRICS was one of your students as a professor, how would you grade us as South Africa within BRICS? What would the mark be that you give us?
I'm not sure of the exact mark that I would give, but it would be a passing grade. I think there have been some concrete accomplishments from BRICS. There's the new development bank, which is a multilateral development bank, which is giving funding to, at the moment, to about 13 projects in South Africa. So that's one achievement. There's something called the contingent reserve arrangement, which is a swap arrangement amongst the central banks in the BRICS, which could be used in the event of a crisis. Hopefully we never have to use it, but it could be used. The third accomplishment is trade between the BRICS countries has been growing. A lot of that is attributable to China. Whether that would have happened without the BRICS is hard to know. So whether you can attribute all the growth in trade to BRICS or whether it's just the way the world economy works is difficult to know, which is probably why I'm not willing to give it a clear grade. The other thing I'd say is you need to look at the BRICS in the way as the tip of a tip of an iceberg. The summit is the tip of the iceberg that we can see, but beneath that, there are lots of meetings that go on over the course of the year between different government departments, different government officials. And those interactions are important. It helps countries learn from each other to develop closer relations if they need it in a crisis. And so that, in that sense, the BRICS has been useful as well.
There's a contention, Professor, that the real reason that BRICS has been so successful, yes, China's going through a bit of an economic slump at the moment. Their numbers are down, their production numbers are down, their exports are down, etc. But there is a suggestion that if it wasn't for China, BRICS would collapse. I mean, they're the one holding the check. They're the money man in all of this. Is that fair or unfair?
There's no question that China is the most powerful and influential of the BRICS countries, but I think that there's more to the BRICS than just China. I mean, before BRICS, South Africa participated in something called IPSA with India and Brazil. So there were those connections. All of those three countries have close connections to China. Russia, in some ways, is an outlier because it's a smaller trading partner, certainly of South Africa. In the case of India, it's a much more important trading partner. So I think there are connections between them that hold them together, independent of just the interest of China in this. And the other big interest that all the countries share, and that all the countries in the global south share, is that the institutions of global governance, the UN, the World Bank, the IMF, all need to be reformed to become more responsive to the interests of the countries in the global south. And all of the BRICS countries have been very vocal and advocating strongly for that.
I want to get your thoughts on one of the big talking points. Yes, there's the BRICS Bank, there's the talk of the currency, but that's a little way down the road. I don't want to kick the tin that far down. What we do know is a big talking point around the expansion, Professor, of more countries coming in. There's a list of over 40, 20 of them formally applying, 20 countries formally applying. Others are having a look at the shopping list. They're looking at the menu. They're undecided at this point. What does an expansion mean? My concern could be that if already we are the lowest step, respectfully, of the BRICS ladder, by bringing in bigger African economies like Nigeria, we could get pushed further down. I'm worried about that.
I think that is a legitimate worry. There's a lot of disagreement, or there's disagreement amongst the BRICS about whether to expand and how to expand. And so the first issue before any countries get admitted is going to be, what are the criteria for admitting new countries? For a country like South Africa, which is the smallest of the BRICS countries, there's a great benefit to being part of an exclusive club. It's a small club. We get to meet once a year. Our president gets to meet with the president of China, the prime minister of India, to have discussions with them. The more you expand the group, the less exclusive it becomes. At the moment, as the only African country in the group, we have a privileged position, and that position could be diminished if more African countries or more other countries are admitted. But the answer ultimately will depend on which are the countries that are admitted and how many are admitted.
Prof, and just very briefly, as I say goodbye to you, what would your expectation be? There's a lot of discussions going on at BRICS on the sidelines. What's the one headline that you would like to see on Friday morning, the morning after BRICS closes off? What's the one-liner that you want to see? What do you want to see come out of this?
I think for South Africa to call this a success, there has to be some agreement, at least at a minimum, on what are the criteria for admitting countries to BRICS and what are they actually being admitted to. Is it the summit process? Is it the new development bank? Or is it something in between? And I think if there's some concrete achievement on that, South Africa will have had a successful summit.
And Prof, I hope that maybe you can make time for me again at the end of this on Friday to get your thoughts and see how close we all are to what you were expecting. Professor Daniel Bradlow, what a pleasure. Always good to have the Prof with us.